Okay, so yesterday we started 19:07 and raised the questions, speculated a bit, and hopefully we got ideas today. Kol acherash sneuhu, af ki mire'ehu rachako mimenu, Muradif Amarim lo hema, lo with a vav. So all the brothers of a poor person hate him, even his friends distance themselves from him. A chaser of statements to him they will be. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even realize that. I think I guess just because I didn't punctuate it, but a chaser of statements. Yeah, hold on. A chaser of statements to him they will be. I wonder if that means that because yesterday we were learning it that like Muradif Amarim, like I think our school said he chases them with statements lo hema and they will only remain his, meaning that like they won't be answered in the correct way. But then I just when I read it in English just now, a chaser of statements to him they will be, meaning maybe Muradif Amarim is a description not of him but of them, of each one of them. That was an accidental pirush there. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because Sadigon said the other way around, I think. He said, Vivakish mehem devarim einam nisagim. He will ask them for things and they will not be attained. Yeah. I'm just wondering if there's a way to read it the other way. I mean, the difficulty with the way I just accidentally read it is that that the friends and brothers are plural in the pasuk. So I don't know if you could describe them as Muradiv Amarim. But I feel like it could be read as like each one of them will be. But all right, we'll go with our reading from before. Okay, so then Sadigon had said, Timsaki Rabi Me'ache Harash Sonima. So you'll find that many of the brothers of the poor person will hate him. So he changes it from Kol to Rabim. And then Koshkain Shekama Mire'av Misrachim Mimeno. So he changes the Af to Koshkain. All the more so will his many of his friends distance themselves from him. And Vivakish Mehem Devarim, and he will seek things from them. The Enam, hey, the Enam Nisagim. Okay, we are at pasuk 7. Yeah, so I'll just read it one more time for the English here. All the brothers of the poor person hate him, even his friends distance themselves from him. A chaser. Okay, this is the part that's ambiguous. Muradif Amarim Lohema. So most of the translations we read said, even though he chases them with statements, then they will remain his, meaning like he's not going to get what he's chasing them with, or he's not going to get like what he's asking. Yeah, let's just keep it at that for now. Okay, so then we said the questions are, what are these statements he attempts to pursue them with? And like, why does he think that this is going to help and why don't they help? 2, why do his brothers hate him? How does the state of poverty override the natural like fraternal love? And maybe that's why Sadigon changes it from all to many, because like it, actually, I don't know. I was gonna say like it's not likely that everyone's gonna hate him, but so maybe he's bothered by that. All right, 3, who are these friends? In the first place, are these genuine friends? Or were these fair weather friends? And we've seen so far that Re'im does not mean close friends usually. It means like companions or comrades. And the fact that they distance themselves from him seems to imply that they weren't true friends. 4, what is the scenario here? Did this guy become poor? Was he always poor? The implication is that he became poor because there's a change in his friends distanced themselves from him, meaning that they were his friends and now they're not. But you could also say he was always poor, and that you could say that the friends means like his fellow poor person separates himself from him. And then minor question, what do we make of the Greek sieve? The fact that it says lo with an aleph that's written that way, but then we read it as vav, but that's like a side point. So yeah.
Saying he shouldn't distance themselves from him, but
low hema, yeah. So I was thinking about this morning, and like, what is the proper methodological angle that we should take? Not the proper, but what methodological angle should we take here? Because again, this is not the first pasuk we've seen that has dealt with poverty and wealth and the effect on friendship. That was your clue.
I mean, based on the modern Mishlei here, we have literally the same words.
Yeah.
And we said, treat it like it's brand new.
Right. So one approach is to treat it, is to forget everything else we've learned. That's definitely a good approach. I'll suggest a different approach, which is to focus on the new thing. Okay, so the first half of the pasuk we've been talking about up until now, but Maradif Amarim Lohema, he pursues them with statements and they will remain his. That we have not seen. So maybe focusing on that will at least bring out a new line of thinking, you know? So the question is like, what is he trying to say to them? Like, and what's with the chase? Like he's chasing them with statements. I mean, like, let's be blunt here. I mean, he's not saying like, be my friend, you know, like, well, what is he trying to do? And why isn't it working?
It sounds to me like he's like fervently beseeching people who used to be his friends, like, because I guess like the friends are like kind of like backing away.
Yeah.
And he's kind of putting them on the spot and being like, please, like I really need help.
Right.
And then
okay, yeah, sorry.
And then they're not helping you.
So that's the other thing also. I guess I didn't even think in that direction, but that is good with Pshat. I guess I was thinking that he's trying to remedy the situation of them hating him and distancing themselves from him. Not that he's actually trying to like get help, but I guess Sadigon really, you know, Sadigon supports what you're saying, is that he's asking for them for things and they're distancing themselves. So like in other words, those are two distinct approaches we can take here. The pasuk doesn't mention anything about him actually trying to like get assistance from them, you know? So you could say that, so if you're just looking at the pasuk itself, he's trying to remedy the situation of his brothers and friends hating him through his statements. And then the other way is he's trying to get money from them, and then that's related to them, you know, going away.
And what's the context of why he's hated in the first place?
Of why he what?
Why his brothers and friends hate him?
Yeah, so that either we have to answer from scratch here, or if we're relying on other ideas we said. So what other pasuk was it? It was in this chapter, right?
Yes.
Must have been like just a little while ago. Yeah, Daled in pasuk Daled. So a couple of pasukim before. Hon Yosef Re'im Rabim, wealth adds many friends. Vidal me re'ehu yipared, and a poor person will be separated from his fellow. So there we said basically that there's three types of friendship. There's friendship based on utility, where you get something from the other person, like tangibly. There's friendship based on enjoyment, which is either enjoyment of company or like enjoyment of the depth of the relationship, that you can like trust them and confide in them. And then there's friendship for a higher purpose, which is a friendship based on a common value system around the good and helping each other attain the good. So definitely this is not that, because that wouldn't change based on poverty.
Right.
So it's got to be the other two categories. So when you become poor, your friends distance themselves from you either because they're not getting anything out of you. Like it's, you know, if the friendship was based on utility, then, and you're poor now, so they can't get anything out of you. Or the reverse is they think that you're going to be like trying to take advantage of, you're only going to be in the relationship for the utility.
Mm-hmm.
Or we said that friendships based on pleasure or enjoyment are based on identification, that you see yourself in the other person, you enjoy the same things or whatever. And then the problem is when their circumstances change, so that can affect your ability to enjoy their company, or even worse, since you identify with them and they're in a state of lack, then it breaks the identification and you no longer want to associate with them, you know? So that's why a poor person will be separated from his former friends. And then there was another interpretation that said that he's separated from his fellow poor person. And we said there, either for the same reasons, like we said, or like there's a certain, being around other poor people reminds him of his own state, and he doesn't like thinking about that. He would rather not be moving in droves with the poor people, you know, but like, like be like a normal person. Like I think I give the analogy of like in the public schools in America, like it's a fairly common thing in certain places that people will suddenly find out that their classmate is homeless, but they've been trying to mask it because they don't want to be like treated as that, and then another possibility is that there's a utility-based reason why he separates from them, because he can't get anything out of his fellow poor person, and if anything, they're cutting on each other's turf.
Right.
So those were the reasons why we said that they'll hate the poor people. So here, if we expanded that to this, so then it's saying that brothers who have a natural identification with this guy will distance themselves from him, because again, either the pain is too much of having this identification, like you feel it all the more acutely when it's someone who you're related to suffering, and so like you just don't want to expose yourself to that stimulus, or it's a utility thing that who's this guy going to turn to? He's going to turn to his family, and he's going to try to either ask them legitimately for help or like mooch off of them, and they want to avoid that. And so the fact that it's going to override even the brotherly love or the brotherly identification, that's a huge thing. And Kavakomer, like his friends who don't have that natural thing, are going to distance. Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't explain why they hate him.
Yeah, hatred is like a stronger thing, right? Yeah, that's a good point.
Also,
we didn't even ask that. Yeah.
If it really is just the case that he's just poor and he's like just needs help and he's
Yeah.
asking his family members for help, like it really doesn't make a lot of sense that the response for like a family member who's like in need and like needs help would be like, "Oh, we hate you for asking us."
Yeah,
for help.
right,
Go
right,
away. Like,
right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So we didn't focus on this sufficiently, I think, or I didn't, at least yesterday, realizing hate is a strong word.
It's very active.
Yeah.
Like distancing yourself could be kind of a passive thing.
Yeah.
Like you're not like maliciously doing anything to the guy. You don't feel such animosity towards
Yeah.
him. You just naturally separate. You just don't associate.
Yeah.
It's like a lack of, but
Hate
is like
yes.
very occupying.
Yeah.
Mind.
Now, just to point out, one thing we did say in a previous pasuk about brothers was that the hatred could just be the flip side of the love. That we mentioned that when two people who are family members or spouses, that the strength of their love, again, is based on identification. And that same level of identification can lead, on the flip side, to a tremendous hatred. You don't feel hatred towards a total stranger because you don't identify with them, but someone who is very close to you, it can lead to major fights. So it could be stemming from that. Yeah. So again, my mind this morning is drawn to the second half, though. So the chasing of the statements. So just say what we said again. So either he's asking them for things and he's not getting what he's asking for, that's Sadigon. Or another approach I was thinking of, which I don't know where to go with this, is like, does the state of poverty affect your credibility in any way? Meaning that they're not believing him, or his words are not having like the intended rhetorical effect.
They're not believing that he's poor, or they're just not
I
believing
don't know.
in general.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, I think they probably believe that he's poor because it sounds like that's just the scenario. But
well, I mean, I don't know if it diminishes your credibility, but it's definitely much easier to reject the words of a poor person just purely because he's poor.
Yeah.
Like people who are in that position are just lower in like the social hierarchy.
Yeah.
So it's just much easier to, kind of like dominate someone like
right.
that. Like it's just one more thing for them that they're behind it. Like
if
they try to say something, you can just reject them. And
yeah. So why is that? That's definitely a true thing.
I mean, they usually don't have the power or the ability to like stand up for themselves in a lot of ways.
Right. But is that why we reject them? Just because we can? Like that makes it sound like
I don't know.
Because I thought you were saying something more of like there's it's just like you're more inclined to reject them, not like that you can justify rejecting them, but
yeah. No, so I wasn't saying, I mean, I get that might be true.
No, it could be both of them are true. I just
right. No, I was just saying it in the sense that I don't know if they're necessarily less credible, but they are more likely to be rejected because of this.
Yeah, that's definitely true. There's no cost whatsoever in rejecting them.
Right.
Like just turning away, sorry, man. Like the ease with which people can walk by someone who's begging on the street. Like they have no stake in anything that could, yeah. So that makes it even more astounding that the brothers hate him and distance themselves from him, because they do kind of have a not just the natural love, but like there's a certain like inherent like assumption of responsibility for like being your brother's keeper, So like the fact that his state of poverty can dissolve that is still astonishing to me.
Well, I think maybe they want to have the same like phenomenon of like distancing themselves, but they don't feel like they can.
Oh, okay.
And then they hate him for that.
Okay, there you go. Okay. Oh, so okay. I see. I thought you were gonna go a different direction also, but I think both of them work. Is if this were a normal person, they could just cut themselves off, but they're tied to him because of the brother phenomenon. So one possibility is what you said is they resent him for that, the fact that they are obligated and tied to him. The other thing is that the hatred is mustered up in order to break themselves from him, so that they can justify. Yeah.
Yeah. Also with brothers, they're if one brother's just poor and in like a bad state,
yeah,
the other brother naturally will be pushed up in like the social standing, whatever.
Yeah.
Which he won't want. Like he doesn't want to be the brother who's better than his brother.
Some of them do. I think Yosef's brothers will be pretty happy.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. But
yeah,
I don't know. Certain brothers, like they don't want to, like they don't want there to be such a staggering thing. And like they also don't want to be the guy who has a lowly brother.
Yeah, that I think is much more common, right? Is like families are kind of like hush hush about someone who's like
Black sheep.
black. I'm trying to find what's the term for black sheep, where like they're a failure, like
Failure.
a ne'er-do-well. That's the
what?
Ne'er-do-well. That's the term.
English? Sounds like German.
Yeah, I mean it's like from never do well, but like ne'er-do-well. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a word. But what I was gonna say though about because the thing I was gonna object to what you said before is I think there is a natural competitiveness among brothers, and it's not that you are eager to see your brother fail, but part of you does like, and maybe this is different for, ask our resident sibling order expert, Ariel Rachmanov, who loves talking about this topic, that like, maybe it depends on which of the brothers you are in the order, but like there is a latent competitiveness inherent in brothers. I mean, we see this all throughout every single brother relationship in the entire, Chumash, except maybe Ephraim and Menashe, and so maybe there is so I was going to say that maybe there is like okay, so now I'm the successful one,
Right.
Going back to the credibility thing and the hatred maybe coming from that, look at the Ralbag, which is on the very last page of the packet. So he ties it to the previous pasuk, but there's something I couldn't understand in what he's saying. So let's just read this. It's at the bottom right.
It looks like a fest, but it's really a vav sign.
Oh, you're right. That's weird. I don't even think that's a typo. I think it's just the bend of the page. Yeah. Oh, vav sign. Okay, I see. Oh, it is vav sign. All right. They just forgot the dash. Hanadivus he chelik tov. Okay, so generosity is a good lot, a good portion. Ki rabim, or maybe that's nobility. I'm not sure how he's translating it. Ki rabim v'nichbadim yichalu pnei nadiv, because the eminent people will beseech the presence of the nobleman or the generous person. Lahasig nidvas libo, to attain the generosity of his heart. Okay, so it's a generous person. This is a previous pasuk. V'chol ha'anashim heim re'im v'chaverim le'ish nosei matanos, and everyone is going to be friends and companions with the guy who gives gifts. Okay, now he translations to our pasuk. From this angle, yihiye nivchar ha'osher al dalus. Okay, from this angle, wealth is preferable to poverty. Okay, meaning obviously we know wealth is preferable to poverty, but this is the aspect that this is emphasizing, which is in terms of your social relations. Because even the brothers of the poor person hate him. Bir osam, when they see him, shelo yikablu boto elis. When they see shelo yikablu boto elis, that they don't receive any benefit from him. V'im heim atma basaro, even though they are his bones and flesh, meaning even though they're related. V'in sarich lomar, needless to say, shaha anashim shahil mereav kodem zeh, that his friends, people who were friends with him before this, ata rachaku mimeno, now they distance themselves from him. Hine daluso hu siba sheyirdufu acharav umereav. All right, this is the part I wanted to figure out how to read. So behold, his poverty is the cause, sheyirdufu echav umereav, that's saying that his brothers and his friends pursue him, right? Yirdufu, they pursue. Amarim lohema. So he reads it without the kri, that statements that are not true. Rotza lomar, and this is the part I don't get. Sheya'aliluhu she'amar o asa kenegdam ma she'eno kain. They aliluhu. I think like they deceptively claim maybe. What's alilos devarim? I gotta look up that word. They deceptively claim she'amar, that he said, o asa, or did, kenegdam, against them, mash enokain. Sounds like they're going to be making up excuses to not help him. They're pursuing him, meaning like they're oppressing, or not oppressing, they're targeting him with amarim lohema, that with untrue statements, and claiming that he's doing things and saying things that are not true.
Right. Well, maybe that could tie back into what we were saying, that like they feel like they need to hate him.
Yeah.
They need things to hate him for.
Right.
So they gotta make things up.
I mean,
to
they
justify,
can't. Right.
Because really, he's just their brother. Who's
Yeah.
poor and just wants some
And
help.
they can't say, well, I'm not helping this guy because he's poor and I don't want to help him.
Right.
They have to make up like some sort of,
Yeah. Like, I think like, especially with that, I'm not sure if he was. This is, I guess, building on what he was saying. That I think with brothers, you have this phenomenon that normally brothers help each other out.
Yeah.
But now he's in a position where he's just receiving and not like giving back, and then that also creates a feeling of like being taken advantage of, which I guess is true for both.
Sorry, that was just like the third time in 3 days. Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think is true, I guess, for both friends and brothers. Like normally there's back and forth, and he's just taking. And
Yeah.
not giving back.
Yeah. So this is interesting here, that fabricate, that's the word I was looking at. Shialiluhu Shamar, they'll fabricate. I don't know if that's the best translation, but that's the word I was looking for. I just want to look up the word alil. But yeah, so the Rabag is definitely taking a different track, and I think it does fit in with what we were saying, that they can't just, they would not be able to tolerate the guilt or justify just hating helping him. So they need to come up with a reason to distance themselves, and they're going to blame him, because that's typically how people rationalize things, is like the other person is in the wrong. So alil is, interesting. Alal is verb, according to the Al-Torah dictionary, is to act arbitrarily towards. That works.
The arbitrary.
Yeah. So like they will arbitrarily come up with reasons to hate him through accusations.
It's not just baseless hatred.
Right.
Well, it is, but
they're right. They're rationalizing that it's not.
Yeah, the real reason they hate him is because they resent him being dependent on them, or they resent helping him, or any of the other psychological factors we mentioned, that they don't like having a brother who's who's in that state. But yeah. Okay, so now the question is so if we're going to take the approaches that we're taking here, so let's see if we could bring it down to a main idea, either according to this approach from the Ralbag, or do anyone remember what we were saying right before the Ralbag? Isaac, you were saying something, I think, but I don't. Maybe it was in line with this. I don't remember. Oh, we were saying right. Is the hatred there? Oh, you were saying they hate him because they can't break away from him. I mean, it really could be all these factors. I mean, there are many factors that would exacerbate the pain caused to the pain and inconvenience caused to brothers by the fact that they have a brother who's poor and in need. So all of these things could contribute to it.
Right. It's interesting that we're focusing on the pain and inconvenience of like the brothers who presumably have like security in their life, but are just, bothered by the fact that their brother exists in this poor state.
Yeah.
And not focusing on the poor person. I mean, I'm assuming he's in pain too.
Yeah, right.
He doesn't want to be poor. Like,
right.
It's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and that's really where we get into the ambiguity of the second half of, is this like the Ralbag saying that, according to the Ralbag, the pasuk is all about the brothers. It's not about the poor person. So according to that, I'm not as bothered. But if this is about him seeking help from them, and he's like the subject of the pasuk, then
what's the problem?
Then what?
What can he do?
Yeah.
Well, isn't according to that, wouldn't the first half be like explaining the cause for the second half? Like, why is he not? Why are they not helping him or listening to his
Yeah,
words, but because
right.
they have this psychological hatred for him or whatever.
Yeah,
which is kind of like almost ironic because they hate him because he's poor, therefore they don't help him. But if they helped him, he wouldn't be poor.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Right, right.
You know?
That's interesting.
Yeah, well, I guess there's like a feeling of like that, like poverty is like an eternal state.
Yeah,
Like is a poor person, and like you can't like
right.
nothing you do is gonna stop that.
Well, I'll tell you one thing to support that. I feel like I mentioned this recently, that machlokus between the way I approach Mishlei and Rabbi Moskowitz about poor people, I did mention this recently, is that he always said that since Mishlei is only dealing with what you can control and not stuff that you can't control, so then if the person is poor by reasons beyond his control, then Mishlei is not talking about that kind of person at all. So when Mishlei does talk about a poor person, it must be someone who's poor based on his own decisions or faults, and my counter argument to that was I acknowledge that that's a possibility, but then Mishlei is also telling you how to make decisions given your circumstances. And if you become poor due to circumstances beyond your control, it's not like we say decision making stops, and like you can still make decisions there. Having said that, if we said that this person is poor because of his own decisions, then I can see how it might be a thing. Like, in other words, if this guy just like a pandemic hit and he lost his restaurant, I assume that if the brothers can help him, then they would help him. But if this is a guy who, let's say, like mismanages his money or is like always like falling prey to one scheme or another, yeah, right. So then that would explain like this prolonged hatred that like, okay, on the one hand, we're his brothers and like it's our responsibility to help him, but like this guy is just like throwing away all the money he has, and like why should we bother helping him if he's going to be
I think it's also like, if that's the case, then part of the reason why they wouldn't want to help him is because helping him in the way that he's asking for help is not really helping.
Yeah, it's just flushing money down the toilet.
Money and he's just going to throw the money away because he's poor because of his own decisions. Then he'll, like I said, it's an eternal state. He's
yeah,
be in the state of poverty. That's
right,
it.
right. Since I find that we're in this position now where we have to kind of like be either Don Lekav's Kus or Don Lekav Chova on the poor person in this pasuk in order to figure out how to view the brothers and then see what the idea is. Yeah, I was like,
I think another possible idea is that it could be addressed to the brothers and friends that when they find themselves, hating someone who recently became poor,
yeah,
showing them that this is a phenomenon.
yes,
so
yeah.
they can recognize that themselves and then
Yeah. So I was actually going to make a big move, and the move is going to say that I don't think it matters who the pasuk is talking to. We're talking to the brothers, the friends, or the poor person. And exactly as you said, all three parties think that the change in the friendship was based on something other than what it actually was based on. In other words, like if you say that the poor person is trying to pursue them with words to either rekindle the friendship or like, we used to be so close, what happened? Or like, why don't you help me? Like, we're friends, we're brothers. He thinks that like something changed in the friendship and in the nature of the relationship. It was really in the circumstance. And his statements he's not gonna be able to argue his way back, or he's not gonna be able to like reattach himself just through these means, because the circumstances are what trigger this. And then on the other side, the brothers think that like they are unable to help him, or like they're coming up with these fabricated reasons that they don't realize, and they have to realize, no, they're just making stuff up because they're psychologically uncomfortable with either being in a position of responsibility or with the closeness with this person. So everyone is like operating on a false premise about what changed in the relationship, And I think that it's like, it is a multi-pronged pasuk in terms of what it's addressing and who it's addressing and what advice it's giving, but it's pointing out this phenomenon,
Wait, what do you mean that it's all based on a false pretense?
Meaning like I think if you asked, like, let's say one of his friends, because that's easier. If you ask one of his friends, like, hey, why don't you hang out with so-and-so anymore? And like, oh, we drifted apart, like,
right, and they convince themselves that that's the reason.
Exactly. Yeah.
If there's any other reason, then they
right. Or let's say like they ask the brothers like why aren't you helping your brother? And they're like oh, my finances are really tight right now, or like he.
Well, I think they hate him now. Is that like they're not just like
Right, that's true. But I see it.
But I think it's over in a sense that really he would have like just
Yeah, but see, here's the thing also that I'm wondering now is like, how much are the friends and brothers aware of these emotions? Because like in the
Their own
Rabag's case,
emotions?
their own emotions. Yeah, in the Rabag's case, he was trying to say that they overtly hate him and they're making up reasons to justify their hatred. But I'm wondering if you can like like you can definitely have an unconscious hatred that you rationalize with practical reasons. Like, in other words, it could go both ways. Rabag saying they have a real wait, or is that the same thing?
Well, it's the same thing. Just I think the only difference is if they're aware of it or not.
That's one way to say it. I'm going to talk this out. This might not make any sense. Is that one way to say it is like, I have an unconscious hatred of this person, and then I consciously make up reasons that I latch onto, like I'm distancing myself because of these practical reasons, not because of the underlying hatred. The other one is I don't want to be involved in this practical remedy, so therefore that generates the hatred. Was that the same thing, or was those two different
I
things?
think it's the same thing. I don't know.
I'm having a hard time. There's a slippery idea in my mind.
so
It's I think slightly different.
Yeah.
It's like which one is one of them in each case. It's like they're both phenomenon are happening, but one of them is kind of like a defense mechanism.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I was trying. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. Meaning is the hatred.
Which one is a defense?
So no, like this. If the rationalization of their hatred is a defense mechanism, that really they hate the guy, but they come up with reasons to like dress up their hatred as though it's a legitimate thing, that they have legitimate reasons for hating. They'll like, he did this to me or whatever, Okay. The other way is they don't want to help the guy, and in order to justify their not wanting to help the guy, they say, oh, I don't like him, or I'm not friends with him.
But that also sounds like a defense mechanism.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. They're both defense mechanisms, but different defense mechanisms. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same two things.
Yeah.
Just switch.
Yeah.
One of them is underlying.
Right.
One of them is.
And one of them's the overt. Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
It's like this or like this.
Yeah. Nonverbal communication.
so I guess
Well, can I see the hand motions?
It's like this or like this.
Whoa.
You got that? Some things that can only be transmitted. If you try to put them into words, then they lose their reason and their meaning. So
Right.
it's going to be mildly confusing for anyone who's watching YouTube. It's going to be very confusing to anyone who's just listening to the audio.
yeah.
So like I guess like one example of like something that like it's like talking about a scenario where this could apply.
Yeah.
Is let's say two friends one and two four, and then like the fourth person breaks his coffee mug by accident.
Yeah.
Then he said is now he's like, I hate you because you broke my coffee mug.
Yeah.
So the poor person, without knowing this pasuk, the poor person might replace his coffee mug to try to like repair the friendship.
Right. But that's not the that's not the cause of it. Yeah. Just a general idea from here that I think is important is which is not the idea the pasuk is saying, but it's like the pasuk is particular of the idea I'm about to say, is we convince ourselves about that we misattribute causes of our changes in emotional disposition. Like it almost reminds me of like when people say like, are you hungry or are you just bored? Like, are you really frustrated or did you just not get a good sleep? And like you can convince yourself that I'm experiencing emotion A, but really the cause is something that is just circumstantial or bodily or whatever, and like that, this is a particular example of that in relationships, that like, I don't like this guy is like a moocher, but really there's like something else going, or we drifted apart, but really the cause has nothing to do with what you're consciously attributing it to. Yeah.
Yeah, even in the example we were just speaking about, this one, I think even those, it's not really going to be the base cause. Like, you don't want to help him, but you say it as like, oh, I don't like him, I hate him.
Yeah.
Or no, the other way around. We're like
Which one?
not wanting to hate him. Like you say, you don't want to help him for a practical reason, but
Yeah.
it's because you hate him.
Yeah.
Like there needs to be a reason for why you hate him.
Yeah.
Like, even that I hate him is going to have like a deeper.
Yeah, and
like,
that-
more latent.
That I think is coming back to the reasons we initially outlined of the psychological, identification thing, or the practical, practical thing like the utility. Yeah, see, I think the difficulty here also is people feel like friendships are, this is going to sound really, really cynical. People feel that friendships are real, but the only, like that threefold division, the only true friendship is the friendship for the good, because that's not tluya b'davar. That's not an ahava that's dependent on something. All other friendships are really due to, are really predicated on, are contingent. They're contingent on these things. And that's why, but people don't look for that. People feel that their friendships are like solid, real phenomena, like a good example of this is like high schoolers, like in high school, you think that you're going to be friends with your high school friend. You guys are friends forever, and then like the year after that, where like you just are in different schools or whatever, the friendship just goes away, and it's not for all cases. Obviously there is such a thing as you can have good friends, but people are very quick to assume that friendships are intrinsic things. Same thing with relationships of like the love of my life, my soulmate, like, and then like a year later, like they're broken up or they're or whatever, like we're pre-programmed to feel that this thing is eternal and not based on contingent factors. And this puzzle just illustrates how like it could be based on very contingent factors, something that has nothing to do even with your personality. It's just like your monetary, your financial status, I still feel like it's a jumble in terms of the ideas in the pasuk, though. I feel like we still have several threads going, and I really would like to boil it down. By the way, just a side observation here. I think I'm inclined to think of the af not as a kol shekain, and I think the reason why is your brothers, you feel like you can rely on that because it's a natural relationship. But then your friends, you feel like you can rely on because it's a relationship that you built together. Like we became friends. How can you undo that? And so it's just like two things that are going to astonish the poor person when his brothers and friends separate from him. Like, we're brothers, or like, what about everything that we went through together, as friends? Like, it's, the kol shekain really applies, though, if you're talking about responsibility, though, because the brothers have a responsibility and the friends don't in the same way.
Yeah, why is that? Friends, I mean, I guess just different responsibility.
I mean, in reality, it should be the same, but like, actually that's something true. In halacha, it's like this also, is you're first obligated in tzedakah towards your friends, to your family, and then your local friends or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think the basic idea that we're talking about now is that person's brothers and friends will, the poor person's brothers and friends will hate him and distance themselves from him.
Mm-hmm.
And like for some, and which will be attributed to some other reason, and then the poor person will try to like rectify that reason, but it won't work.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not the
right. Yeah, I definitely think that that's the practical dimension of whatever idea we end up falling out on. The fact that if you don't understand the cause, you're not going to be able to come up with a solution. If you think that the cause is something other than the poverty changing, then you're going to be like astonished when you can't appeal for help or whatever. So what are you supposed to do if you're a poor person in this circumstance? Get rich. Yeah. I mean, I guess what you're supposed to do, it's really what you're supposed to not do, I think, is like, no, it's don't count on the fact that, oh, my brothers and my friends will be there for me, because that could change. you know, and I think that is something that like in the back of a person's mind, if they're in financial, you know, financial danger, or they're making a financially risky move, I think there's this like latent feeling that like, oh, you know, my friends or brothers or family will like bail me out, you know, and like,
support network to fall back on.
exactly, yeah. And I think the side is correct, is that that might happen, but don't count on that happening because of this phenomenon. Yeah.
And especially if we're talking about a guy who like is a fool with his money and causes
Yeah.
poverty.
Yeah.
So he'll have that like thought of a security net, and like it might, and almost like the problem is like they might bail him out, you know, the first couple times.
Yeah.
But like whether it's the first time or down the line, at some point they're gonna stop.
Yeah.
And then not only will he have, you know, no support and he'll be totally, you know, in a bad situation, but he'll also then like, you know, make it out that he's the victim.
Yeah.
That they abandoned him and it's their fault.
Yeah.
When like that's just the farthest thing from reality.
Right.
When it's his fault, and they did bail him out multiple times, and eventually. Like,
That's a good point. That's taking the
no.
raw box shot and then saying it could apply the other way also, because raw box saying they're going to come up with fabricated reasons for why they're not going to help him, and then he is going to come up with fabricated accusations, as opposed to like, well, you guys, you know, like I'm your brother, you guys should help me, and if in reality it was his fault, and like they do have a legitimate reason for like not, you know, not bailing him out again.
Yeah, and he'd say, you know, my brother, why do you hate me? And friends, why are you like distancing yourself from me?
Yeah.
Like that's like how he's perceiving it.
Yeah.
But really, he's drawing him away in terms of like helping him.
Yeah. See, I think, okay, just to from a methodological observation here, this is the type of pasuk where like there are different like levers or like permutations where like, let's say if you have the poor person, that it's circumstance versus if it's his own fault, or like is Muradif Amarim him to them or them to him, or, you know, and like based on how we set the settings, you'll come out with like a different emphasis of the idea that we've had here, but it all revolves around this common thing of the changes in the relationships here have causes other than what they're perceived by in each of the parties. They think that that it's one thing, but really it's just the change in poverty in wealth level or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, I think in the scenario that they was talking about, I think the friends and family are aware of what's actually going on.
Yeah.
It's just the poor
Yeah, right. The poor person's not right. Yeah, what were you saying, Zeph?
No, I've just noticed that we've had a few psukim where like the idea like applies outside of wealth and poverty, but it's like wealth and poverty is like a very good example.
Yes, yeah, I think that's a good observation. Yeah, and that's I feel like that's the case with a lot of Mishlei ideas, where it's giving you, I mean, it's giving you particular insight in a particular area of decision making, and there are applications within the pasuk, like let's say like within wealth and stuff, and then there are applications where you take that same model and you apply it to some other thing, but it's the same like decision making insight. Okay, that was an interesting one. I still feel like I want to continue thinking about it just to get it sorted out in my head, because I still feel like there's a lot flying around, but I don't want to return to it tomorrow. And I think tomorrow, so what are we going to do tomorrow? Are we doing Mishlei or are we doing question and answer, given the fact that like, I mean, Zev's presumably going to be the only one who's calling in.
I would come in person. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, but so should we do Mishlei or question and answer?
I'm not in Mishlei.
I'm for Mishlei.
Okay, all right, so let's do Mishlei tomorrow.
No
I
question.
don't really have
Yeah,
any
that's fine.
questions right now.
Okay, that's good. All
I
right.
have a question later.
Yeah, you can change your mind before tomorrow. Yeah. All right, see ya.